Good morning, everyone. My name is Raymond Fung from Autism Partnership. I'm very happy to be here to talk about AP and autism spectrum disorder. I'll keep my talk very short and brief so that you have more time to hear from Nicholas and ask questions at the end of the session. May I ask, can you hear my voice at the back? Is it loud enough? Cool, okay. Before I start, I would like to know more about you. So how many of us are students? Can you raise your hand? Okay, wow. Staff? Okay, staff. How many of you have experience interacting with people with ASD? Okay, so, let me tell you, before I joined AP, I did not know anything about autism. I studied philosophy and economics in Hong Kong U, and I thought that I would be a banker or maybe a school teacher. It was a coincidence that I found a job advertisement in the career center in Hong Kong U. Autism Partnership came to Hong Kong. They hired therapists, and no experience is required. So I was like, oh, it's cool. I had no job experience, and therapist sounds very professional and cool. So I give it a try. Before the interview, I was told that I had to interact with a 5-year-old boy with autism. So I did some research. I was expecting that I'm going to meet with a person who doesn't talk, who doesn't look at me, who's being very disruptive and very difficult to manage. And you know what? I was right. In the interview, when I saw that 5-year-old boy, he was all over the place. He didn't say hi to me. He didn't talk to me. He didn't look at me. He was doing something at the corner of the room, sometimes running around. However, in the interview, when I start to approach him, I try to present a little toy in front of him. He responded to me very, very nicely. He came to me, he smiled at me, he looked at me, and he played the toy with me. He even hugged me and tried to kiss me. Okay, I was a 21-year-old guy, I was not very used to having a kid to kiss my face, but okay, I let him do it. We had a lot of fun. That was my very first encounter with a person with ASD. After I joined AP, Autism Partnership, I've met many different students in many different countries, and I've learned a lot from them. I learned that autism is a neurodevelopmental disorder. We do not know the exact cause. We know that people with ASD, they find it very difficult to make friends because they have deficits in social interactions and communication. They are very rigid. They like things, always in the same kind of pattern or sequence, and they have some repetitive behavior, such as flapping hands, playing with fingers, rolling eyes, making noises. And we know that boys are more likely to have this condition. And when I joined AP 16 years ago, everyone in 150 people were diagnosed with ASD, and now is 1 in 68. As I said, boys is more likely to have this condition. So every 42 boys, there is one person who's been diagnosed with ASD. So it's a very popular and common condition. One thing I want to highlight here is that autism is a spectrum disorder. It is very important. You have to remember that autism is a spectrum disorder. It means that individuals who has been diagnosed with ASD are affected by this condition very, very differently. Some of them are affected by it very mildly, and some of them are affected by it very, very severely. If you come to AP Autism Partnership, you will see some of our students are very socially motivated. They want to come to you, they smile at you, they want to play with you. But some of them, they don't really care about other people. Some of them may display very obvious disruptive behavior, crying, tantruming, obvious repetitive behavior. But some of them are very quiet, passive. You don't even know his existence because he's at the corner of the room. Some of them are very talkative. Some of them are nonverbal. Some of them may have other conditions such as ADHD, OCD, or even depressive disorder. We know that autism is a spectrum disorder. They are all different. That's why when it comes to intervention and support, we need to be very systematic and individualized. Autism Partnership is an international company. We use applied behavior analysis to help our students to learn and to make progress. Our approach is intensive. Our students usually come to our office every day for 6 hours a day. It's like going to school because there are many things that he has to learn or they have to learn. For example, how to manage disruptive behavior, how to regulate emotion, how to learn to become an effective learner, how to learn to talk, to communicate, to socialize, to take care of themselves, to play, or even to learn in group environment, to learn in school, and to go to the community and to learn how to survive and function. So it's very intensive and very holistic. Autism Partnership also provides a lot of parent education because we understand from the research and our experience that parents' involvement is critical factors affecting treatment outcome. We also do a lot of training, workshop, we also do research, we also make apps, and we also have a school actually. We have a school in Hong Kong where we provide ABA in a classroom settings. All the students there are diagnosed with ASD. We also have a foundation in Lai Chi Kok where we can provide some free service to family with less resources. We have many students who make very amazing progress. We know that our students are different, but they are not less. They are very capable of learning. We believe that by working and collaborating with other professionals, schools, parents, our students can make amazing progress and to foster meaningful relationship and to have very productive life. As I said, many of our students make amazing progress. And today, I'm very happy to introduce you one of our students who has been able to integrate to mainstream school setting very successfully. And his name is Nicholas. Nicholas, wake up, please.
Well, I'm Nick. I'm a third year at the University of Chicago. I've lived in Hong Kong for about 18 years, so all the way from when I was born to when I graduated from high school. Very fortunate to have very conscientious and hardworking parents who helped me overcome this, as well as people from Autism Partnership.
That's cool. Okay, I'm sure our audience would like to know more about you. I will start off by asking you some questions, and maybe at the end they can ask you questions. Does this sound good?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So my first question is that when did you get diagnosed, and was it a serious one, and what are some of the symptoms?
Sure. So I was displaying symptoms as early as when I was like 1 or 2 years old, but nobody was ever really able to pinpoint, or at least nobody in my immediate family was able to pinpoint what exactly it was until my uncle who had like experience, like he has 3 kids already, so he knows about raising kids, said that I might have some form of autism. So when I was about 3 years old, I was diagnosed with autism. I don't remember the exact order of diagnoses, but from when I was 3 to 9, I had 4 or 5 different diagnoses from the Yale Medical School, Johns Hopkins, UCLA. And the first 2 diagnoses were high-functioning autism. The 2 after that were PDD-NOS, which is like kind of like a not-defined set of symptoms on the autism spectrum. So most likely I had high-functioning autism. It's just that through the therapy I received, I exhibited less and less of the symptoms, fewer of the symptoms. So at the point in which I was diagnosed when I was like 7 or 9 years old, they only diagnosed with PDD-NOS as opposed to like high-functioning autism.
Okay, cool. Do you know that your diagnosis was a serious one or was a mild one? You said high functioning autism. What does that mean to you?
Well, like at what age do you mean by that? Like when I was at that, like me at that time, or me now?
That
time.
that time.
Yeah.
Oh, at 5, no idea.
Okay.
Parents until I was at least 15 years old.
Oh, we'll talk.
I thought,
We'll talk about that later, maybe. Okay. So, well, can you give me some specific examples on how this condition affect you in your family life and your school life?
Sure. So I guess it'd be helpful to start with like some of the symptoms that come with autism. I threw a lot of temper tantrums, like banging heads against walls and things like that. I delayed speech, so I had to go to speech therapists all the time who taught me how to pronounce. Hand-eye coordination was lacking. Clumsiness, lack of social awareness, also had like a lot of obsessiveness. And to some degree it actually affected my physical health too, because I was very picky when it came to food, so I wouldn't eat anything that wasn't yellow or white. So my mom eventually had to like bake cakes with spinach snuck inside of it until I like slowly got used to just vegetables. Now I don't trust her whenever she cooks anymore. But so all these things affected me, made me like I guess set apart from other people all the way like up to the like the end of middle school. So I didn't have like many friends to speak of until that point. I had playdates that were arranged when I was younger, but that was mainly due to the contrivance of my parents as opposed to like me actually going out and making friends. So I had trouble making friends. I got bullied a bit, quite a bit actually, and I had some trouble learning too. Most of my teachers were notified of the fact I was autistic, but even then, depending on the amount of experience they've had with students with certain like disorders or learning difficulties, they handled it differently across the spectrum.
Okay, I see.
But I was definitely had trouble concentrating in school and disrupted class quite often. So generally not a very good experience coming from autism, especially in the initial stages.
It must be very difficult. Well, you had a lot of issues that you had to address. So what therapy did you go through in Autism Partnership, and how did it change your behavior problems?
Okay, so when you're 3 to 5 years old, that's when you're at your most impressionable age, and it was vital that I got like therapy very early. So Autism Partnership provided the therapies 36 hours a week initially, and most of it revolved around, like, some of them dealt with other symptoms, like teaching me how to read properly and things like that. But most of it revolved around observing my behavior, whatever, and putting me in different scenarios of when I had to exhibit different types of like daily behavior. And they would reward me or punish, not really punish, but not reward me, I guess, based on positive and negative reinforcement. So I would associate doing like socially acceptable things with getting a reward, such as like 5 minutes to play with a toy truck. And I would associate like doing socially unacceptable things with like sitting in timeout for 3 minutes or something like that. It was also very important that even when I wasn't getting formal therapy, my parents would be there to make sure I was still going through the right behavior. Otherwise, the training would be useless, but it would be like not as effective if they weren't vigilant for 24 hours a day.
Okay, so the therapy happened at home only, or did it happen in school and communities?
The therapy happened at home, but at school my teachers were made aware of the fact I had autism. I had like extra help, like learning specialists, things like that, all the way up to middle school when I was 12, 13 years old.
Okay, well, why don't you tell us more about your home therapy? Like, how many therapists, do you remember who were the therapists, and how many of them have experience teaching you, and how do you feel about seeing these people, coming to your house and, do this kind of stuff with you?
There are 2 or 3 of them at any one time. I think sometimes there's just one. I don't remember, like, I had like a total of 4 or 5. I don't remember they were all my therapists at the same time, but there were definitely like sometimes more than one therapist at a time. Sometimes it'd be just with me, sometimes it'd be when I had one of those arranged playdates with other kids. I thought it was like a pretty normal thing. Like again, no one told me I had autism, so my parents thought it'd be a good idea not to tell me. Otherwise, I'd kind of use autism as an excuse for like not succeeding at different things. And I think that was the right decision on their part. But anyways, back to the point, I didn't know I had autism, so I thought the people visiting was like a pretty normal thing for kids around. I didn't like talk to many people when I was that age, so it's not like I had other people tell me, oh, like it's not like I have random friends coming over who are like 30 years older than me to like play with my toys and like teach me what's cool or uncool. But so I was living in a bit of a vacuum, social vacuum, so I had no idea like whether it was normal or not. I thought it was normal.
Okay, well, now, Nicholas, you've been talking so fluently and so clearly. Were you talkative when you were young? Like, did you have like verbal complaint and, try to negotiate with those therapists when they came to your house? Like, why are you coming to my house? Okay, or like, oh, why are you touching my toys? Were you like that?
Thank you. No. I usually express myself by banging my head against walls. That's what you're looking for. I have trouble pronouncing a lot of things. I have trouble expressing myself in a variety of vocabulary or like what's socially suitable vocabulary. Just my communication skills weren't good, but I guess over time, like through therapy and just through like interacting with people, my verbal skills got better. I don't know like a specific science behind it, but I guess the therapy worked.
That's great. Well, apart from banging your head on the wall, like how did you express yourself before you picked up all those speech?
Like I could still speak. It's not like I was completely mute or anything. It's just that I couldn't really articulate it well, so to speak. So if I wanted to persuade my parents to like give me like 30 extra minutes like playing computer game. Like I wouldn't like give the persuasive points. I was like, number one, like computer games are like really good in terms of de-stressing myself so I could concentrate better on work. Like I wouldn't like have logical points like that. I just say, oh, I play computer games because it's fun or something like that. Like I wasn't very good at expressing myself or persuading people at that time. So I tried to do, I just was very bad at it.
Okay. Well, I've met many students who has a lot of rigidities. They are quite rigid and they don't like change. Like, did you have these kind of issues when you were young?
You don't like what? I didn't hear, sorry.
Change.
Cage?
Change. They like change. 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 They don't like changes.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I don't know. It really depends on the change. I think. I consider myself someone who had very hard to grow out of certain habits. So on that point, it's definitely true. I might have like a certain tick. Like for example, I like to drum my fingers on the table, and even if it wasn't like a little bit disturbing, it was like hard for me to like get over that bad habit. So it's not necessarily that I was averse to any like tangible change, like Nick, rather than like go to school at this hour, go at this hour. It's just that it was very hard for me to like grow out of bad habits. I think that was more like it.
Okay,
in my case.
Okay, so when did you receive our therapy at home? Like, was it 3 to 6 or 3 to 9?
Sorry, why did I receive it at home?
I mean, how many years did you receive home therapy before you move on to school?
5 to 6 years, like 3 to 9 years old. After that, it was just like some external school support until I was 13 years old.
Okay, did our therapist go to school with you?
Not that I remember, no. Like, especially at some point when we're older, when we're like 7 to 8 years old, people start noticing things. And I don't think my parents want to draw attention to me with like therapists following me to school or anything like that.
Okay, I see. All right. Well, can you tell us if there is any special strength that comes with your autism and any special examples on how it helps your studies?
Sure. So I think it could be a double-edged sword for sure. Like I said before, it causes you to be like very, very focused and obsessed with certain things, like however trivial they are. When I was very young, like I was obsessed with looking at highway signs for some reason. I have no idea why I found it interesting now, but back then apparently I found it really interesting. So I like get mad and like make my mom go on different highways so I can look at these different highway signs. I think at the point in which you like overcome bad symptoms, debilitating symptoms, and you tweak it in a way that actually helps you out. It can be very helpful for your development. For example, I can consider myself obsessed with topics that are helpful for my academic development. Like, I love history very much. I love international relations, topics like that, and my focus and obsession with these things allows me to know a lot about these things and learn about these things without necessarily seeing it as a chore. At the same time, though, it makes me have a big aversion to topics I'm not really interested in at all, such as math.
Okay, so now.
Sorry, math majors.
Okay, well, we all know that now you are studying in the University of Chicago. Do you come across any challenges when applying for colleges in the U.S.? Did you disclose your case of autism during the application? If yes, did it help or put you in a disfavored position?
I mean, if it were to put me in a disfavorable position, I wouldn't have put it on the application because I want to maximize my chances of getting into college. But even then, there is no way to really know whether it will help or not because how they review your application is a closed process behind doors. Based on the advice I got from people, they said, yes, talk about the autism in the common application, so I did that. And I guess since I got it must have either been a helpful contributing factor or might not have affected anything. But I probably didn't have any huge negative effect.